Welcome to CPAC Now, America Uncanceled. I'm Mercedes Schlapp. We have this incredible story that I saw. It was an exclusive out of the Daily Caller. Top trans pediatric doctors admit in unearthed video that puberty blockers aren't as reversible as advertised. Someone who's broke the story, someone who's been following this prominent World Professional Association for Transgender Health, WPATH, is joining me now, a reporter for the Daily Caller News Foundation, Meg Brock. Meg, thanks for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
So I saw this story and I just couldn't believe it, because you have this constant propaganda coming from the left, basically promoting, and those in the medical industry promoting puberty blockers, you know, the gender affirming care. And then now you were able to basically unearth this video, this information of these doctors really, I think, expressing their real concerns about what's going on when we're dealing with these the gender transition of young children. Walk us through what happened. How did you obtain this information, and what did you find?
Yeah, so you're absolutely correct. I mean, transgender activists are very often saying that puberty blockers, for people who don't know what they are, they basically suppress sex hormones. So they prevent a child from going through puberty for as long as they're on those puberty blockers. And it's very much sold as it's just a pause button, it's fully reversible, even in the WPATH standards of care, which are clinical guidance that really helps to form medical decisions across the world. They actually say puberty blockers are fully reversible. But through a FOIA request, I was able to obtain videos that were from the WPATH, like you said, this professional transgender medical organization, where they were discussing some of the side effects of puberty blockers that really aren't reversible, such as losing calcium, such as we don't really know what this is doing to kids' brains, and then ultimately the impact it has on their fertility, how they really, even if they do fertility preservation, which one doctor described is really out of reach for most people, they don't even know if the children who are undergoing these procedures will have, are capable of having fertility preservation.
So Meg, let me ask you this. So they seriously, like, these children are being experimented on. I mean, that's really what I'm hearing from you. Is that what you're sensing and what you heard in these conversations, in these discussions that they were having?
Yeah, I mean, I think that anytime you do any medical intervention, you're always trying to weigh the risk and the benefit. And what's happening here are children who have healthy bodies. They're having an issue, a mental health crisis, where they're experiencing confusion about what sex they are. I would say not gender, they're sex. We know there are two sexes, male and female.
Right.
So these kids are having a mental health crisis. And then instead of addressing the mental health crisis, they're being given interventions that are absolutely experimental. I mean, puberty blockers are not FDA approved to treat gender dysphoria. So I think in these videos, they really talked about how there's a lot that we don't know. So we really don't know what the outcome is going to look like in 10, 20, 30 years for a lot of these kids.
So they said that in their clinical guidance, WPATH recommends that children are in, I love this line, you can't make this stuff up, that children, not their parents, but that children are informed on the impact that sex reassignment medical interventions have on fertility, as well as understanding fertility preservation options. WPATH guidance calls puberty suppression fully reversible. So they basically first said that they're fully reversible, recommending their initiation at the first signs of physical puberty changes, which typically occurs at as young as age 8. Let me get this right. Age 8. And so we're gonna basically, WPATH is gonna recommend that children are informed. I'm sorry, like an 8-year-old, a 10-year-old. I mean, I'm a mother of an 11, a 13-year-old. They're not even mature to like make even fundamental decisions in their lives. How is this even possible?
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm also a mom. I'm a mom to an 8 and a 10-year-old. And, I have to tell them what they need to eat for lunch. Yes. I have to tell them to be careful when they go outside and play, that they don't do something crazy. I mean, we give children access to things when they're capable of making good decisions, whether that's driving, whether that's drinking alcohol. So to me, the idea that any child could make a decision about their fertility, about whether or not they're going to have children, it's just preposterous. It's just, I don't even think it's ethical to make that assumption.
And he mentions as well, they explained, I think one of these pediatric doctors, how puberty blockers, they impede adolescents from developing the calcium stores needed to prevent osteoporosis later in life. So literally impacting their physical health. It's not, it goes even beyond mental health at this point. This is like impacting, we literally have no idea what this will do to these children that are getting these sex changes to then or gender reassignment, what it's going to look like for them as adults.
Right. I mean, I think when we talk about puberty, people always obviously think about the maturation of, the sexual function, but the body's also maturing in other ways. When I was researching for this article, I found quite a bit of evidence discussing the impact of puberty on brain development, which one of the doctors addressed, and how there are processes the body needs to go through. Developing calcium stores is another one of those processes, and they're finding that when kids are on these puberty blockers, they aren't getting the calcium they need into their bones and are at risk for osteoporosis later in life.
So do we know who runs this WPATH? I mean, who are these people?
My understanding is that there are prominent physicians within transgender healthcare. So I know that Rachel Levin at one point was a member of WPATH, and I believe I've heard Rachel Levin cite WPATH. They're cited very commonly throughout medicine. So I've read a lot of insurance documents when somebody wants to have transgender surgery, right, a sex reassignment surgery. Yeah. The insurance company will cite the WPATH guidelines to approve the patient for the procedure. So they're very influential, and they're used throughout medicine.
So I got to ask you, so they're very influential. Obviously, what we're finding is this transgender business, this gender reassignment business. It's money making, right? Is that what you have found as you've done some more research in this area? I mean, it seems to me like it's definitely a multi-million-dollar business and an industry that doctors are just, moving with this as being a solution to dealing with adolescents and their mental health issues.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the big things is when a child becomes a sex reassignment medical patient, they're really a patient for life because you always have to be taking those hormones. Some of the surgeries, particularly genital surgeries, have a very high complication rate. So you may be getting multiple surgeries. I mean, there's so many different ways that patients are going to be medicalized that in of itself, and unlike you think about most things in healthcare, you have a problem, you get it fixed, and it's over. There's just a very broad spectrum of procedures, and I would say then a very broad spectrum of procedures that people can charge for.
So, we went back to the fact that decades ago, the idea of even doing this type of gender reassessment surgery on a child, I mean, that would have been unethical from a medical standpoint. Mm-hmm. Where did that shift happen where now it became so acceptable in the medical industry? And why do you think that has happened?
I mean, I think that there's been a lot of shift in our country. I think in the 2010s, there were a lot of activists for these medical procedures that really became influential in various institutions. I think that's like so many other issues where you saw it in medical organizations, you saw it at colleges. And I think that a lot of doctors, nurses, healthcare professionals don't agree with this, but there really aren't a lot of avenues for them to speak up. I think there are a lot of people who are afraid they're going to be ostracized or even maybe lose their medical license if they speak up. So there is an organization called Do No Harm it's connecting different healthcare professionals to stand up against this ideology. And I think that medical professionals speaking out are one of the biggest things we have in the fight to stop this. But obviously, I don't know if you're paying attention. There was the doctor in Texas who spoke up, and then got handed someone showed up at his door saying he was going to be federally investigated. So there's a lot of fear associated with this, but I think more and more people are saying, especially with kids, we got to stop this.
One of the things that really was like an eye opener here was there was this one doctor that warned that if the puberty blockers are started too early, boys may not develop the genital tissues needed to create a surgical vagina later in life. Literally uses the term that a boy, an 11-year-old boy who does not have a lot of genital tissue and blocking puberty right there, we're preventing I can't believe this. The growth of a vagina for down the road. I mean, when you listen to this, what are your thoughts on this?
I mean, going back to what we said earlier, I think of my 10-year-old son, and I think of if someone told me we are already planning for a surgery down the road to disrupt one of his healthy organs, a surgery that could keep him from having children. I mean, I hope people hear that and see that and really think about what we're doing to these kids, and how can we reevaluate this, because I don't think there's anything ethical about saying you're going to stop a medication to quote unquote grow an 11-year-old boy's vagina. I mean, I don't even know what you say about that. It kind of speaks for itself.
It is shocking. Any other surprises when you were really kind of in terms of you looking at these videos, reviewing these videos, that something that really stood out to you that you were like, wait a second here. I mean, this is as troubling as it gets in terms of some of the issues that they addressed.
I mean, I think one of the big things within the article, we had a clip with a question about fertility, and someone in the audience had asked about when you puberty blocked in Tanner stage 2. So there's different staging of puberty, and Tanner stage 2 is a very early stage. And the person was just asking the question and making the point that, even if you save eggs, like they will say, fertility preservation, they don't even know if these eggs would be mature enough to actually conceive a child later in life. So to me, as a woman, as a mom of a daughter, I mean, that just breaks my heart, because there's just no way an 8-year-old, a 9-year-old, a 10-year-old has any idea what it means to be a woman, let alone what it means to be a mother. And I think that is just to rob children of that, and to place such a heavy burden on them, to expect them to make a decision about something so profound is just very upsetting as a woman, as a mom, as an American citizen.
I think I was reading that in Maine, they're looking at I think they were having a committee vote on the fact that if a parent does not support their child and their child wants gender assignment surgery, that pretty much they would take the child. We've seen this before. This is something that they're looking to do in California. Do you find in these very liberal states that, what's their goal? I mean, is it take the parent out of the equation? Is it, they're going to view this as a child's right? I mean, where are they going with this?
I mean, it's actually already happening. There are already cases throughout this country where children had, say, a 15-year-old child or a girl who thought they were a boy, and social services did take them away.
Yeah.
The Daily Caller News Foundation reported on a document that we'd found from the federal government, where they, in this document, labeled parents who don't affirm their children. So they're saying, like, don't let their child dress like the gender they want to, whatever that means, were potentially abusive. So
yeah.
There are laws. I know in Washington State there was a law where it protects minors who are running away from their families and are getting protected health services, which includes sex reassignment services, that the government really is not obligated to contact the parents. So, I mean, I absolutely think that's where this is going. It's going to divide families, and it already is happening.
I think we've seen that, I think the biggest concern is we know things have gotten really bad when there's an attack on the family, especially when there's an attack on the children in our society. What do you think Congress can do? Obviously, we're in the middle of getting started on this presidential election. What do you think Republicans, conservatives can do to really, be in the front lines of this, to fight this off, and I think basically dispel this horrific propaganda that's taking the innocent lives of our children?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're seeing in different states bills, and we just saw what happened in Ohio, where they're trying to override, or I forget if they actually did it, override to stop sex reassignment services in kids. So obviously that's kind of step one, stop it from continuing to happen. I think that federally, people should absolutely be paying attention to what's going on in social services. In terms, there was a regulation that was proposed in September regarding foster care, which is basically saying, like, foster care parents have to affirm children.
Yeah.
And that could set potentially a dangerous precedent that could be pushed towards any family, and viewing not affirming So that if you're a mom and you tell your daughter, no, you're not a boy,
Right.
well, they're saying then that's potentially abusive because you're ruining the mental health of that kid.
Wow.
And yeah, that's scary. I think normal people just need to get educated and have conversations with your family and friends, because I really think that that's how you move the needle, is everyone not being afraid to talk about these issues and not being afraid to speak the truth.
Well, thank you for your coverage. When I read the article, I was like, I want Meg on our show. You had such important information. Where can people find you on social media?
Yeah, I'm on Twitter at Meg E. Brock.
Okay, Meg E. Brock. Meg, thank you so much for joining me on CPAC Now, America UnCanceled.
Thank you so much for having me.
And thank you all for watching. Remember, CPAC's coming. It's about a month away. And we're looking forward to having you all here, CPAC here in Washington, D.C. Go to cpac.org to get your tickets. Thank you and God bless.